All right, good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, February 9th. Welcome to this edition of our lead meeting. Today, you'll hear from myself, Phil, Laura, Charlie, and Lisa. We have a lengthy agenda here today that we will get to, but before we do so, I just want to thank all of our member schools who are hosting post-season tournaments where we're about to be. Want to acknowledge that our One Act Play state tournament is happening as we speak. Again, if we're not in postseason, we're about to be here for our winter season. We know that January tends to be our longest month as an AD, and we're through that now. But now we have our next second longest month that is the shortest month of the year. So thanks again for everything that you've done. Appreciate everyone that filled out the school information form for football. Also appreciate those that acknowledge the competitive section placement timeline, and for those that were looking to opt up, we'll talk about that. Thank you for getting that information as well. Just a reminder that if you are not watching in person, the recordings are available. We do host them in the library if you want to refer back to those at any time. Anything in our meeting that you acknowledge that should be shared with coaches, feel free to do so as well. I think we have some information that will benefit them today, not only for our ADs, but for our coaches. Our agenda today was highly influenced by our liaisons, and we can go to that at this time, please. Our liaisons did meet this past Tuesday, did a great job of highlighting information that should be shared here today, and also acknowledge some of the things that you're working through, as well as we're working through, again, to help you be effective and efficient in managing your offices as well as your students. As we move on to our next slide here, we did have a board meeting last week. Just a quick summary of what took place at that board meeting. We had a number of fall activity advisory proposals. In those proposals, you can see what passed. Tennis Class A has not seeded in the past. They've chose to do so now, similar to other teams that do seed, and they will follow the same routine as AA tennis. We will be implementing next year a mercy rule in soccer, also eliminating overtimes in the regular season for soccer. Volleyball will also increase their roster size heading into postseason play for next year. What did not pass was football 1-8 quarterfinal seeding, along with a 3-class tennis system. And what I would say is both of those failed to move forward from the board. Mostly to do with lack of current policy that exists within our options for the Minnesota State High School League. So keep an eye on those as they are either implemented or you get questions on what or what did not move forward. Also note that postseason girls wrestling scheduled for 2022, 2023. Also, we will be moving forward next year with a 13 weight class for wrestling in 2023, 2024. Again, that's 13 classes for wrestling starting next year due to the NFHS changes for wrestling. Charlie, anything I missed there on either postseason or the wrestling weight classes?
No, you summed us up well, Bob. Thank you.
All right, we'll keep moving there. On from the board meeting, I'm going to turn it over at this time to Phil. We know again what you're working through oftentimes within your own buildings, conferences, and heading into sections. Phil, let's talk about supervision and what that looks like for the winter tournaments.
Good deal. Thanks, Bob, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Lead here. Knowing what we've gone through and experienced in the schools and with our event management, we just want to be proactive. And this is something that we've mentioned in our area meetings. This is something that we've talked about through Lead throughout the year so far. And so we just want to hit on it again here real quick. So bylaw 409, so this applies to all contests, but really as we move into postseason play, we want to make sure that we're finishing up the regular season on a positive note, and we prepare for our section and state tournaments, and that the supervision aspect or supervision responsibilities from our member schools is a big part of that support. So the piece would be to spend some time in planning with your opponents or your host school. When we're talking about postseason play, you might be playing at a neutral site and one of these things, but spend some time in the planning aspect. Who's present? Who's going to cover what areas? what staff are positioned where, before, during, after the contest. So just spend some time working on that. Basically, who's responsible for what, with that team of admin that's going to be there at those different contests, or coaches it could be. So and then a big piece of this before we move on would be just to continue to keep this in your mind in the overall idea of event management. You've done a great job of this so far throughout the year. The planning aspect of it has helped us navigate some pretty tough situations. If we really think back, as we're grinding through the winter season here, the planning piece has done I guess a phenomenal job at helping us navigate some tough situations, to say it again. So continue to stay diligent with that, and that planning piece will continue to pay off. Bob, anything you want to throw in on there?
No, really nice job, Phil. I think what we're asking is make sure we're as preventative as possible. What I'm hearing is that we're having less situations with some of our students, more with adults, and maybe students that are not from either school that are in competition. We're going to continue to support you. Know that each state tournament may look a little bit different. For supervision, Charlie would tell you that sometimes coaches are your supervisors up at Nordic or Alpine, and that will look very different than hockey or maybe basketball as we get into our professional venues again. Otherwise, no, thanks, Bob. Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
One other thing real quick that you jogged in my brain, I forgot to put down, but best practices on the state tournament side of things is making sure that your admin reps know to come and check in at the state tournament headquarters. That's normally communicated in the qualifiers meetings or the participant meetings, but it's really helpful for the state tournament staff to know who is there, how to get in touch with them, and what area they're going to be at during those state tournaments. So I think that's an important note to have. Sorry to interrupt you, Bob. Thanks.
No, very good. Let's move on to levels of competition. And again, another topic that's been popular here as of late. You've seen this slide before. You're going to continue to hear from me that there is no mention of C squads in the rules, policies, and bylaws of the Minnesota State High School League. C squads do not exist in that language, yet we know that many of you operate with C squads. If you have a C squad that contains other than ninth graders, please be aware. If you have a C squad that competes against other teams who have 10th, 11th, or 12th graders who are C squads, please know that both of those teams are now governed by the Minnesota State High School League. An example of this is what I'm going to call a 7th or 8th or 9th grade tournament that occurred on a weekend. Was actually a state tournament that included Sundays. One of the 9th grade teams did have a sophomore that was rostered on that team. That team would be ineligible to compete in that tournament, or that team would now be ineligible for those that they have competed against. If you have C squads, please make sure that you know who is on them. If you have C squads that you're competing against, it's your responsibility to understand who are on those rosters. Again, you'll hear this from me in the future. C squads make you vulnerable with the rules, policies, and bylaws of the Minnesota State High School League. We also understand in parts of our state that you rely on a C squad because you might be using 7th, 8th, 9th graders, and 10th graders. If that 10th grader is on there, that is a governed team by the Minnesota State High School League. If you have students that are moving from a JV down to a 9th grade team, or potentially even a 7th or 8th grade team, that is not something that we recommend. Note that now that is a Minnesota State High School League governed team. If that occurs with that 10th grader that might be on there, and that jeopardizes eligibility for teams not only that you govern, but also those that you are competing. So continue to monitor that. We'll work with you. We'll continue to provide resources to bring clarity to this, but we are hearing vulnerabilities. We have had bylaw violations, again, with students that are competing on those C squads or those that are moving back and forth between levels. We're going to move forward there if there aren't any other feedback, and we'll move forward to talk a little bit about uniforms, special recognition events, and Charlie's going to lead us on that. Charlie.
Great, thanks, Bob. Good morning, everyone. And we continue to get questions in the office here about uniforms and special recognitions and events that are happening in your schools. We also understand and know that your boosters contribute a lot to your programs, and they often need to or want to assist with your uniform purchases. And what we're learning is that can be problematic. And several of our ADs have learned that firsthand, especially this winter. I think the first and most important message to be shared is that uniforms must be approved by the activities director and school administration. It is not for the booster clubs to approve. It is not for your coaches to approve, but rather those approvals need to come through you and your school admin. Also be reminded that the spirit of high school sports is that we do not need 3 to 4 uniforms to choose from every time we have a contest. If you have a Fight Cancer Night or other celebration or recognition, be aware of the document listed here on this slide. You can find it in MSHSL resources in your dashboard. Special recognitions and commemorative or memorial patches. This policy gives quite a lot of information about what is allowed and what is not, the sizes of patches, where they can be located, that sort of thing. We're seeing a lot of black, silver, beige as complementary colors that are maybe neutral or serve as piping on your uniforms. That is one thing. But when your primary colors on a new uniform set are different from your school colors, that's going to be a problem in outside of school policy. You might ask, how do you know what the uniform requirements are? There's really 3 places that you can go. First is the NFHS rules. Look in the rules book for all those sports that are governed by the NFHS, usually a very robust set of rules on what is allowed and what isn't. We also have Minnesota modifications to those rules, and or some sports that are not governed by the Federation will have uniform rules posted in their rules and policies document for those specific sports. And of course, use the special recognitions policy that I just mentioned previously. And in those 3 places, you can learn a lot about what's allowed and what is not. Bob, I'll toss it back your direction if there's anything further to add on that slide.
No, really nice job, Charlie. And again, we're trying to prevent having to be the uniform police. Stay with your primary colors, your traditional colors. There are complementary colors, obviously, the blacks, the beiges, as Charlie mentions, the whites. That may not be school colors. When you're doing a Fight Cancer event as an AD, make sure you know what you're wearing. Think back to Dig Pink and our fall with volleyball. They're not wearing pink uniforms. We should not have purple uniforms unless they're your primary colors in hockey or accent colors that are not yours. Let's make sure that we don't put ourselves in that position that you're have to change it or the boosters are unaware, and let's make sure that you're approving those uniforms. We continue to wait in competitive section placement. One of the things that all of your coaches should hear as we move forward here in the slides is we do not have our MDE enrollments as of yet. Amanda checks from our office just about every day. Know that when those enrollments become public, that is when we get them. The liaisons asked, what is taking so long? It's a great question. We're not sure. But as soon as we get those, we'll move forward. Laura, things to note here on the timeline or anything further from MDE. Laura?
I would just add, we continue to wait for that data. We do have a date set as February 20th, when those will come out to you. Again, that is reliant upon that data, and we expect it'll probably take us in the neighborhood of a week once we get that data before we're ready to share things back out. So timelines on that agenda are tentative, but those are the dates that you should be kind of watching in your mind of making sure you're looking for something around those times.
Good, thank you, Laura. And again, I want to acknowledge that January 27th date. We'll talk about opt-ups there, but great job by the number of schools that were able to get that information in. This is why this timeline has been public and published here since it was approved in August by our board. Again, looking at competitive section placement, we did have 54 teams that did request that opt-up. Some would say, how do we know to opt up if we don't know what classification we're currently in? It is typically those teams that know where they want to complete, no matter where they're placed based on their MSHSL enrollment. I would say our 2 most popular sports for that tend to be wrestling and boys and girls hockey. Remember that MSHSL enrollments will be converted once we get those MDE enrollments. 40% of your free and reduced lunch numbers will be subtracted from that enrollment to get that MSHSL enrollment. You have the opportunity to appeal if you qualify either as within 10% of that cut and or 50% free and reduced lunch. Very few of those appeals are granted within our AD's advisory, but please know that that option exists. We're paralleling district football on the timeline, and people are patiently waiting to get started on that. Some have started projecting what their districts may look like. Know that we had 300 plus schools turn in their school information form. We rely on that greatly to hear how your district is working, who your rivals are, who you'd like to play, or maybe a change that's requested within your district. Interestingly enough, in that school information form, roughly 270 schools or teams are satisfied where they're currently at within their district. Roughly 30 are not. And of those 30 that are not, at least 30% of those are 6A football teams. So we continue to work within our 6A metro district, but to give you a breakdown of what those districts look like and the satisfaction that you have within your teams. We'll work on that as soon as we can get those placements done within our sections and within our classifications in the sport of football. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Laura, I believe, at this time. Laura?
Great. Thanks, everyone, for being here with us. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner, we're kind of excited to have something new to roll out to you. We are excited to roll back into our main website a set of want ads. Those of you who have been around for a while remember that this used to be part of an integrated State High School League website, and we have heard consistently that it is something that our schools and our ADs want back as an option. Minnesota MNI AAA has graciously hosted Games Wanted as a filler for about the last 2 years, and we will be transitioning away from that as a Games Wanted. The new want ads have 3 categories of ads that are available to you. The first one is Games Wanted. The second one is Coaches Wanted. And the third one is Activities Office Staff Wanted. So if you're looking for someone to assist you in your office, ads may be placed by ADs and others with school administration rights. And on your dashboard, ADs, you will see a newly changed button that is now labeled Want Ads. Behind that button, you will find a page that lets you add want ads, manage the ones that you have out there, as well as see any ads that are placed. Again, that button is available to those that are on a school dashboard, ADs and folks that work in their office. The ads are visible to anyone. So public, coaches, anyone who goes to our website. And those, as you see in that second screenshot, up under About, there is a new tab there called MSHSL Want Ads. We will begin to promote that out on social media, et cetera, in the coming weeks as that area gets populated. Currently, if you go there, I believe there are 4 ads. 3 of them are kind of my sample ads so that those spaces filled. And Eric from Delano actually discovered this yesterday before we made it public. And there is an ad out there for Delano already looking for, I believe it's a Game Wanted. So again, you as an AD or someone in your office is the person who places those ads right now. Anybody is allowed to see those. And again, we'll start to push that information out, but you can also push out that public information as you want. Many of you transition to Coaches Wanted through EdPost, through St. Cloud State. Again, feel free to use both of these as you work to recruit quality people for your programs. We are in version 1.0 of this, excited for opportunities to release it. But again, as we know, version 1.0 always grows and gets better as we move through it. So if you have feedback on the process, feedback on other pieces of this, please send those my way, and we'll continue to monitor those too as we go forward. On the very bottom of this slide, there is also a help guide for you. Underneath your website help guide button, there's a page behind there called Want Ads. If you want that as a get started piece, please use that also. But I do believe that that page on your dashboard has some directions for you also. As a final note, we do have some links in there back and forth to MNI AAA's website. We will continue to kind of use both this spring and push people both ways. And by next fall, as we move into 23-24 school year, we will turn off that MNI AAA one. So I would suggest starting to put your things into the new area. Those who already have ads posted out at MNI AAA, you may want to also post that through our website, but really people are going to kind of have two places to look for those games wanted through this spring, and then we'll transition totally by next fall to being just in our website. Bob, with that, I'm going to turn it back to you for any closing things and then to move on.
Good. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you to our ADs for continuing to tell us that this was a priority. With the Want Ads, Laura, thank you to you and others involved to make that a reality. We hope that this is a great resource for you that is looking for games or other items. At this time, we're going to turn it over to Lisa for quick takes.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you today. A few quick takes around our meeting today. A reminder that continuing education units for those that need those are available for lead meeting attendance, and those are located on your MSHSL resources on your AD dashboard. So please make sure you grab those and download them and use them as you need them. A reminder that the MNI AAA AD conference is coming up March 28th through the 30th. We are excited to partner with them and work to create a great conference. And I know that leadership group is working on that as well. Make sure you get your registration in soon if you plan to attend that. As you're preparing for spring, remembering bylaw 111 is a piece that is required for you. If you have teams who are going on spring trips, please make sure you're reviewing the requirements with bylaw 111, which includes talking with your school board and making sure they're aware and approve this trip, and then working with our office as well. As you prepare to attend state tournaments, a reminder that we do have participating schools meetings. Those are typically on the Saturday or Sunday prior to the state tournament. You should be getting information about those, as well as there's a great resource on your dashboard and your coach's dashboard that will have information about participating schools meetings. That dashboard is the schools and sports activity information. As you can see to the right, and then each of you will have a list of the sports that you offer. And underneath that list, there is a great section of information. All of your state tournament resources, section resources, and general activity resources for your season are under this. And this is just a great resource to get coaches and ADs used to using that. And all of the information you should need is underneath there. Anything that you are looking for as far as preseason or participating schools meeting is there. So those are the quick takes for today. And Bob, if you want to go over anything I missed, that'd be great.
No, you can tell that Lisa works with me in eligibility because she referred to bylaw 111. Bylaw 111 is transfer and residence, which we have about 2,000 of a year. If you're taking that spring trip, it is bylaw 411. Please note that approval from school boards, as Lisa said, as well as consider Title IX if you have a sport that will be going, and what does it look like for either gender that may not be going. So great job, Lisa. We'll turn it over to Phil at this time to take us home with our checklist.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob and Lisa. Checklist of some actionable items that we're going to leave you with here. And these are all things that have been touched on in some capacity through this lead meeting here today, but registering for the MNI AAA up in St. Cloud in March, that's a huge event. A ton of resources there, but more so I think the networking aspect and building some relationships with your colleagues and learning how to tap into that support system of ADs is a huge piece there. So get registration moving for that. talked about uniforms earlier, working with your booster clubs, building some relationships in there so that everything is flowing through you and there's no surprises when it comes to your uniforms. As we're moving into state tournament time, talking about verifying your official rosters and working with your coaches to make sure all of those things are in place. All that stuff, once it starts moving, is going to move really quick. And so talking about being proactive on there, we put this on the checklist for you today. Verifying your winter coaches have met all of your ed requirements, utilizing some of the different tools that we've got on the website. That'll be a big one as we move into postseason play and making sure that everyone's compliant so we don't have any issues when it comes down to actually tournament time. It's the last thing that you want to run into when you're getting off a bus at a venue and not 100% that your coaches are good to go. So, and then lastly here, talking about registering spring coaches for your head coaching courses. Again, going back to our coaches dashboard, monitoring the education requirements that are needed for our coaches to legally be working with our kids. So spring courses are on the website, and you can get those for any of your new head coaches that are coming into play. So this is just actionable items for you guys to move forward with as we're coming out of this lead meeting. And as always, that mshsl.org site is a good hub for all of these, any resources regarding them. Go ahead, Bob.
Good. Thank you very much, Phil. No matter what the groundhog told us, we are going to move into spring sooner than later. The temperatures are telling us that right now. We hope to see you at a tournament. Thank you again for all your work. We know the winter season is long. Hang in there. Let us know how we can continue to help you, and we will see you at our next meeting here in March as we get closer to our spring season and our MNI AAA conference. Have a great week. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.